I've been meaning to submit this experience for a while, and this was probably the craziest drug encounter I have ever had. I'm a bit of a drug veteran, even back then, particularly with psychedelics. It was the summer after graduation, and it was the summer in a lot of ways. I had a lot of money and a carefree attitude. One fateful day, my friend Drew and I met a friend, Jay, by chance in a park, and he told us about how his cousin had given him some strange plant, and you can apparently trip on it. I was up for pretty much anything minus heroin and meth. We said sure, and I drove to Jay's house. First we smoked a joint, and then we divided up the 2 pods between the 3 of us. The seeds were little, clear, and somewhat bitter. We decided we didn't want to waste any of the plant, so we brewed a tea with the shells and drank it. Then we peeled off the inside skins of the pods and ate it. And finally we smoked the outer shell. Then we smoked another joint. During the first 20 minutes, nothing too noticeable happened. Colors seemed more vibrant, and my throat was getting somewhat dry. When I went to the bathroom to pee, very little actually came out. Jay decided we should go to a different nearby park, as his parents would be coming home soon. As we were walking in the park, I felt as though I was being poisoned. I had jello legs, and my eyes couldn't focus on anything specific for very long. When we got to the park, we walked over and basically slumped down at a picnic table. At this point, my throat was painfully dry. We had a jug of water, and I drank quite a bit of it. I also really had to pee. I walked into a secluded area behind some bushes and tried. Nothing. Frustrated, I jello walked back to the table, and our friend G was randomly there. He was driving past and saw us. As he was talking to us, he could tell that we're acting very different. "Oh, I know what you guys took," he said, and started laughing. I could barely look at him. He told us to call him later and tell us about how our experience was. Then some girl came and sat down at the table and started talking to us. There's a school nearby, so there's a lot of people in and out of the park. I don't remember anything she said to me. Jay said he had to go home, and we thanked him for the Datura. Drew suggested we leave too, and we got in the car and left. Then the unadulterated insanity began. No, do not drive on Jimson weed ever. We left at about 4 p.m. We pulled up to Drew's house around 9 to 9:30 with no memory of what happened in between. None at all. Anyway, as we pulled into Drew's street, we noticed a lot of our friends' cars lined up around his house. There appeared to be a party going on. We assumed it had something to do with Drew's brother. As we pulled into his driveway, the neighbor's cat ran right in front of us. We felt a bump and knew Drew had just run it over. He felt really bad about it. We walked inside, and sure enough, there was a party going on. We see about 20 or so of our friends drinking, laughing, and being loud. There are also strangers. Drew excused himself and went into his room as he felt bad about the cat still. I was talking with some friends, and I noticed my friend Preston was there. He was crying blood. It looked like eyeshadow, a blood circle around his eyes. It was horrifically bizarre, and he looked like he was in a lot of pain. "Are you okay?" I asked. He just stared at me with an almost evil gaze, blood dripping from his face to the floor. I saw grotesque people I didn't recognize, who looked like Sloth from the Goonies, but not in a comical way. They looked deformed, bruised, beaten, and burned. Some were laughing maniacally, some crying, others just staring. It was very unsettling, to say the least. Things were also painted on. It's like a dream, and the 3D world is irrelevant. There were burnt cigarettes and tacks sticking sharp side up on the ground, and bizarre-looking plants pasted to the walls and doors. I then saw people with beet red skin, crying blood. They looked like what you would expect demons to look like. Just like every fairy tale or myth or religious text makes them out to be. minus perhaps wings. None of this seemed very odd to me at the time. I was confused who they were, but wasn't gripped with fear like I probably should have had when I was sober. Some of these entities were having passionate, crazy sex in the back room, but they didn't look as if they were actually enjoying themselves. I kept hearing the sounds of doors slamming. Drew came down to see what I was up to, and our friend Preston started talking to the both of us. "You guys are late. We were waiting for you," he said. "We didn't know this was going on," said Drew. "Where's Kyle?" I asked. "Kyle is Drew's brother. I haven't seen him yet," Preston replied. We walked, just the three of us, for a couple of minutes, and then Drew excused himself to the bathroom. He couldn't pee the entire time either, and our throats were probably the driest they had ever been. It hurt to swallow. Then I met the spirit of the plan. She is known indigenously and shamanically. She was pale, not albino pale, but literally skin tone like the moon. She's also fond of tricks. I talked to her for quite a bit, though I did not share the conversation, as I feel like doing so is disrespectful. I sat on the floor and noticed the tacks which shimmered in my peripheral. My friend Chloe walked in through the kitchen looking frail, beaten, and toothless. She explained that a group of Mexicans had just beaten and gang raped her. I looked over at the towel and a clear cylinder on the table, only I didn't see the towel. I saw a talking head, and this head was Chloe's. She was crying hysterically, and I gave her a hug. I was literally hugging a beach towel in plastic. "Oh my god, Sam, what the fuck?" She yelped and started crying. At this point, I honestly didn't know what to do, but my bladder felt like it was gonna explode. So I said I'd be back and went downstairs to the bathroom. Drew's mom was playing solitaire on the computer and said hello to me. I waved and went into the bathroom. Chloe was sitting in the corner of the ceiling, laughing scarily. When I walked to the toilet, Chloe was standing in my way. "Chloe, can you please move? I have to pee like a racehorse." She just stared for a second and laughed. "Chloe, if you don't move, I'm going to pee on you." She just laughed again, louder, so that's what I tried to do. Again, almost nothing came out, but I did feel better. I went back upstairs and my dad was there randomly. I wasn't expecting to see him there at all. "I'll meet you in the car, alright?" I thought, and went outside. He was nowhere to be found. I did see my friend Tom, though, in an orange car parked right outside. He beckoned me to get in. I couldn't get the door unlocked. He kept waving me inside, and I said I can't. Then Tom started laughing, and this actually really irritated me. "Forget it," I shouted at him. I was confused where my dad went, so I just sat myself on the curb. The house across the street has a wood stove-top chimney on the roof, but I saw someone committing suicide by hanging himself instead. It was like an animated GIF. When my eyes moved at all, it would reset. When they stayed focused, the man walked off the roof with a noose and hung there, waving in the breeze. I should have mentioned this earlier, but all straight lines looked shook, like an episode of Dr. Katz. Everything flickered, actually, like I was witnessing the erosion of time. I had seen this kind of thing before on strong acid. Just the lines, not anything else. I looked next to me, I'm still on the curb, and my friend Mike is by my side. "What's your problem, man?" he asked. "I don't honestly know, dude." I said, "I took this plant earlier, and now I can't tell what's going on." He looked at me strangely. "That's fine and all, and that would be a good excuse if you weren't being such an asshole right now." I felt like I was an asshole, ruining everyone's time, and I don't know why. I glanced in Drew's car and saw possibly the scariest thing out of my whole experience. There's a pale creature with no eyelids, with the most piercing stare I have ever seen in my entire life, sitting in the front passenger seat. His head was shaped almost like a shark's, pointing to the top, and he had no lips and sharp, shark-like teeth. In fact, it looked exactly like the Hellraiser character Butterball, minus the sunglasses and paler. Just like in the movie, he said nothing. I had seen Hellraiser once before when I was like 12 and remember near to nothing about it. It wasn't until I saw the movie again that I made the connection. In fact, I'm very confident that Clive Barker has taken Datura before after going through this experience. And the fact that he wore sunglasses in the movie and in reality, call it what you will, has no eyelids at all seems to be more than a coincidence to me. This powerful entity was the only one I could not look at straight in the face. I tried avoiding his gaze the entire time. I looked at the tree in the front yard. I could see a ghostly essence in the tree itself. Actually, I could see the essence of all plant life. Chloe was right there by the tree, falling over. I rushed to help her, but she was painted on a tall piece of dead grass, blowing firmly in the wind. I needed to pee again. I went inside through the garage, and somehow Chloe had beaten me there, and she was crying on a coat rack. I don't want to live anymore, she cried, and it was apparent to me that she was trying to hang herself. Chloe, no, I said sorrowfully, and reached to bring her down. It wasn't Chloe, it was just a coat. I put the coat back and entered the kitchen. Kyle was there. Yo, Samwise, how's it going? I actually thought about that question and laughed. I don't know, how are you doing, Drew? I asked a piece of paper which I thought was Drew blowing from the fan. Kyle looked at me like I was the biggest dumbass in the world, and I don't blame him one bit. I went to the upstairs bathroom and the light didn't work, and the darkness seemed to make the vision stronger, and it was very hypnotizing. I also saw what looked like a ghost or shadow creature on the floor next to the toilet, outlined by a translucent silver, and appeared to be asking for my help, though I couldn't actually hear anything he was saying. I finally peed, at least more than I had yet, and felt immensely better, though I felt sorry for the shadow creature. It was kind of a dusty bathroom, and there were glowing insects attracted to the dust. They looked like ants, mini spiders, and other insects which probably don't exist, and they looked bioluminescent. I put my finger on the ground and let one crawl onto my finger. I examined it more closely, and its movements were that exactly like a bug would be. It had feelers and was feeling me. I clamped my fingers together lightly, and the insect crumbled like dust, its legs floating spirally to the ground. I went back downstairs to the couch and sat down. Did you see the life upstairs? I nodded. I looked around. Demons and deformed burn victims were still walking around nonchalantly. I went upstairs into Drew's room to see how he was doing. He was watching TV with Mike. Then we noticed the neighbor's yard via the window. It too was bizarre. There was a four-legged dog creature, very large and very black, with glowing red eyes. The dog, whom I later found out is the second spirit associated with Datura, or second half depending on the perspective. He is known sometimes as the guardian or protector. Noticed us and beckoned us to come to join them beyond the fence. Drew grabbed his binoculars and scoped out the scene. People were still having insatiable sex through a bunch of mist. However, with the binoculars, we saw everything in grave detail. The dog and associates were still beckoning us. Drew went to the fence line as I stayed upstairs watching with the binoculars. Drew almost jumped the fence to join them, but I tapped on the window and shook my head. He came back up. Drew has bunk beds, and Mike called the top bunk. He said no. Just give him his sleeping bag. Mike, Drew said. No, I tried pulling it away from him, but to no avail. Annoyed, I gave up and went into the guest room trying to sleep as a spy versus spy creature watched over me, which was very unsettling. I decided to read up on Datura only when I got to the computer to do so. I couldn't read text. Smaller than the billboard size, it was out of focus. This lasted for more than 2 days, and during this time, I never thought I was going to be able to read again. Same with Drew. In fact, the trip lasted altogether for 3 days, and residues of it, like my eyes playing tricks on me, lasted for almost 2 weeks. I'll cut the other 2 days out, as it's already been a fairly verbose story. I shall summarize them though. Everyone was worried about us. They thought we were never coming down, and to be fair, neither did us. Neither did we. We saw Dr. Seuss creatures in the trees, elves, gnomes, dwarves, pixies, demons, golems, and all kinds of mythical creatures. And everything Drew saw, I saw, and vice versa. We ran over a ghost with a car. Digital clocks would make like animations. It looked 8-bit. The auditory hallucinations did stop after the first night, the visuals mostly after the third night. On the third day, me, Drew, and a group of friends went into a gazebo, a usual smoking spot in the garden to smoke. I saw gnomes having sex in the trees. Little creatures would slowly bring antennas up out of the bushes, and whenever Drew and I would compare what we saw, our friends were like, "That's not fucking there, stop it." And an obese naked woman was having sex with a tree just outside the garden. Every time she went down, the tray blew its horn. The train was actually there, our friends acknowledged that. It was uncanny. She would stay down for 3 seconds, and the train would blow for 3 seconds. This experience has made me think about it every time I hear a train. I ran into Jay a few days later, and he thought we had never left. He hung out with us all throughout the night. Also, amazingly, Drew's parents, who were actually there the entire time, had no idea what was going on. I don't know how. We were talking to these people who weren't there, basically in front of them. We were lucky in that respect. Afterthoughts. First of all, I'd like to say, do not take Jimson weed. 99% of everyone should never take this. It's all too common for someone to get arrested or end up in a psych ward, or even get shot from walking into someone else's house, not knowing what's going on. It's also very easy to be poisoned to death. People have died from it before. Also, you will be tested by the spirits, and if you fail, there will be dire consequences. It's not a pleasant high. In fact, there is no high. I felt completely normal, despite the craziness I witnessed. It was kind of amazing I remembered taking anything at all. That's not common. I didn't really think twice about what I was seeing, just like I probably don't in a dream. This is clearly a negative plane of existence. I don't know if I believe in hell, but if there is one, this realm is surely some type of correlation. Also, it has been said that Datura seeks you out, not the other way around. I deeply believe this to be true, and I believe that I was seeked out. I think Jay and Drew were caught in the crosshairs. To say this was all just in our minds is hard to justify. We interacted with people who weren't there simultaneously, witnessed the same things, and saw in blaring detail clearer images through binoculars. And largely because of much what I experience, I consider sacred, particularly some of the conversations. Not holy per se, but sacred. The spirits still visit me periodically in my dreams. All in all, I am glad I experienced this, as I learned much, particularly about the nature of reality,